credit that goes to people behind the scenes. It's the volunteers. There's all these volunteers here that you see that have taken their time. They're not being paid. They're not doing it for anything other than that altruistic spirit, inshallah, of serving people. So they're here. So I just want to remind all of you to really thank those people themselves. Secondly, when I reflect, and we're fortunate to have been able to go all over the world and see Muslims in their various states and conditions and situations. And when I see a room like this, it just amazes me the power that our community has, that is so under-realized. It's this kinetic energy that's just waiting to really burst out. And I just want to remind everybody that Islam it's a beautiful and powerful spiritual force in a world that's really in desperate need of spiritual uplifting. We're living in a very nihilistic time. A lot of people losing hope. The Prozac nation, as America's been called, people are depressed. People are, and things like in Pakistan right now, there's all these poor people there now, just really, in a state of just these type of things. They cause so much depression. Not whether you like Mrs. Buddha or you don't like it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that that violence is what is resorted to in dealing with human problems. That we can't be human. That we can't deal with these problems. And it's important to remember that there are demons on this planet. Muslims tend to think of demons like the jinn, but the demons of the humans are much worse. And the Sahaba considered them much worse than any other demons, because these are the demons of the spiritual world. All they have is suggestion. That's their power. Their power is the power of suggestion. But the demons of this world, they have suggestion, coercion. They're able to act in the world. And they do this to depress people, to take the hopes away from people. So it's important that Muslims really, that we keep our hopes up. Islam it's a powerful force. It's not going away. And wherever Islam has gone, historically, it's enhanced the communities that it's gone to. Wherever it's gone, it's enhanced the communities that it's gone to. West Africa was enhanced by Islam. If you look at the difference between Senegal and just look at the country right next door, not Gambia, because Gambia is part of Senegal, with all respect to Gambian people. They used to call it Senegambia. But if you look at Senegal, where a real Islamic tradition emerged with scholars and ulama, and then you look at the countries that didn't have that, the same type of people. There's no difference in the people, but the difference is amazing in the culture, in what Islam gave. You can read How is Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney, and what he talks about, even though he doesn't like to admit it, when he talks about the great civilization of Africa, it's all the Muslim Africa. That's what he was talking about. Timbuktu, Sankore Institute was one of the great institutes of Africa. So, and when you look at Africa today, there's all these people that see Africa as the basket case of the world. The Gallup poll, when they did their religious poll, 98% of Africans consider God to be an important part of their life. So, and the social scientists of Europe say, well, that's because they're uneducated, ignorant, and backward people. No, it's because that is the human fitrah. They're closer to fitrah. Is the more people get away from fitrah, the more they get away from that essential nature. And so it's important that we realize Islam should be a positive force in this society. And I'll tell you something, we're coming from America. We envy you here. You people that are living in Canada, you have to appreciate what you've got here. You have to appreciate it, and you have to let these people know that you appreciate it. When you have a soccer team where all these kids excited, I played high school baseball, little league baseball, football. I remember what it was like going to a game, how excited you were, especially if you made it to the championships. I made it to some playoff games, and that was the ultimate highlight of and when they told that little girl she couldn't play with her hijab, and that team in solidarity said, well, if she can't play, we're not going to play. And then other teams in that same championship said, well, if they can't play, we don't want to play. SubhanAllah. These are people with parents that are teaching them some really important truths about the world. These are not bad people, these are good people. The Muslims should be sending letters to that school, really, in our community. Because people have to be reminded that we're appreciative of these symbols of inclusivity, really. And so often Muslims fail to they just read a newspaper article about somebody that did something for the Muslims, and they don't send a thank you note. We have to let these people know. I mean, Karen Armstrong should have her mail flooded with people writing letters, saying, thank you for defending our Prophet when the Muslims are having a hard time doing it. When so many of them are actually end up making the Prophet ﷺ's religion look like a fool's religion. The Prophet made a dua in the Quran, don't take us to account for what our fools do. We have too many sufaha out there. So people, really, you need to organize. You need to have letter writing campaigns, positive letters, letting people know how appreciative you are. The Muslim women, especially in defense of the hijab, these are important things. People should know that, how appreciative we are of people. Uzma Husseini is here. We were walking across a bridge in a park with a group of Muslims, and some of the women had their hijab, and we got to this point where it narrowed down. There was this old couple, they were probably not much older than I am, but they were an older couple, and I said to them, this bridge isn't big enough for the two of us. And I was just making light, because it was a narrow bridge. And he looked at me and he said, no, there's plenty of room for all of us. And I said, thank you. And he said, you're Muslims, aren't you? And I said, yes. And he said, well, we just want you to know, you're welcome. This is your country. And we don't like what a lot of people out there are saying, but we just want to let you know. And some of the sisters, they started crying. Because just to hear that from somebody, there's Muslims carrying around this burden of just feeling like we're completely disenfranchised. And so when you meet those good people, you have to reciprocate. هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. Is there any reward for beauty and for goodness other than beauty and goodness? So we need to reciprocate the beauty and goodness. And when you do that, you reinforce it. You strengthen it. You give there's people doing things out there and nobody ever says anything. They just start thinking, this is a waste of time. So you let them know, and people are moved by these things. Wallahi, they're moved by them because they're human, and humans are moved by power. And nothing is more powerful than truth and honesty and authenticity. So when you're authentic and let people know, so our community really, we have to rise up to the occasion. I mean, I've said this many times. We are the first generation of Muslims that have made Islam appear to be an ugly thing. No generation before us was capable of doing that. People used to look at Muslims in awe. We have European rulers that had their portraits taken in Ottoman uniforms because it was such a beautiful way of dressing. They were inspired by it. We have the Zouaves of American military history where they took Muslim uniforms as their uniforms because they thought they were more beautiful. You know, really, Americans wearing turbans in the Civil War, we have pictorial evidence of that. So we forget, you know, people used to look at us in awe. They saw the majesty and beauty of Islam. Really. Gardens, why are there gardens all over? Why are there gardens all over? The Muslims introduced gardens into Europe again. They didn't have gardens, and even the Romans, their gardens were for a select group of people. Muslims had public gardens. Central Park is a Muslim contribution. Because the idea of having public parks for people to be able to walk, that was something rooted in Islamic tradition that entered into Spain. So this is what we should be doing. We should be people that they see the beauty of Islam, not the ugliness of our own sins and our own wrong actions, but the beauty of this religion and what it does. And we're the most pluralistic community, really, uniting all these people. I mean, colors of Benetton have nothing on the colors of Islam. Seriously. You know, we have Asian people. You go to China and there's Muslims. When Magellan arrived in the Philippines and landed at Mindanao after fighting Muslims in Spain, Magellan, Ferdinand Magellan, the explorer, he arrived in Mindanao and with his conquistadores, and the Muslims came running out of the jungles of Mindanao saying, Allahu Akbar! And they're like, Moros, Moros, you know, like, we thought they were all the Arabs, and now we've got Filipino Moros coming out of the jungle. And they killed Magellan there, because unlike the Indians here, they knew what they were there for. The Indians here, they said, oh, welcome. No, the Moros knew, man. They'd been on Hajj. They heard about Andalusia. We had international... So we're not, you know, teaching you how to grow corn and have a Thanksgiving party so you can kill us all after that and take over our land. Seriously, Magellan, he died on that shore. You know, look what Columbus did when he arrived. All those Indians, Hispaniola, they don't even exist anymore. They're just gone. They're nice Indian. They came out, welcomed them, you know, smiling, and pretty soon they had them in chains, taking them back as slaves. So wherever Islam went, it elevated people, it restored their dignity. I mean, these people, we've got people putting tattoos all over their body. They don't even know the hukm of tattoos. Our Prophet didn't leave everything. We know. Don't do that to your body. Don't dishonor your body by that. Prophet ﷺ, nah. You know, he prohibited the washam, doing tattoos. Even the branding of animals was debated about just because of the harm that it brought. So, I mean, this is our religion. We need to go and teach people about this religion. We have some converts in here, people that you know, Hamza is welcome convert, and Peter Marty and other people from distinguished family, theologians and scholars coming into Islam. I mean, these people need to be supported and because they become ambassadors for Islam. Every person that becomes a Muslim, my family, even though they're not all Muslim, my sister's a Muslim, I'm a Muslim, and our children are Muslim, but my family are defenders of Islam. If they hear people talking about Islam, they say, that's not true, that's not Islam. How do you know? My son's a Muslim. My father, a lawyer, told him, you know, Islam, that idiot religion. And my father said to him, my son's a Muslim and he's not an idiot. You know, he's like, whoops. Because people think they can talk and, you know, and they don't realize, no, Islam is spreading. So we need to recognize these converts and make sure they don't go crazy. You know, people convert to Islam, they're full of zeal and full of energy and appetite, and they just want to know everything. They can go crazy. Mahatma Gandhi said about Marmaduke Pickthall, the translator of Quran, he was that rare individual that could convert